Stories, Philippines podcast.
The wind whispers through the bamboo groves on nights when the moon is thin and the clouds move like funeral shrouds. It's a dry, rustling sound that isn't quite the sound of nature and not quite the sound of breathing. It is the sound of something separating. It is the sound of a woman, a beautiful woman perhaps, standing in the gloom of the rice paddies or the dark fringes of a village. A woman whose body is about to betray its human form. Imagine her standing there, a figure of silent dread, as a line of invisible tension begins to pull her in two, the lower half rooted like a dying tree trunk, and the upper half, the torso, the head, the long black hair, becoming something that takes to the air. It leaves behind an empty space, a chilling vacuum where a complete person stood moments before. But what if the terror isn't just the thing that flies away? What if the real horror is the thing that is left behind? The psychological echo of the Manananggal. I am Lawrence, and you are listening to a bonus episode of Stories Philippines podcast. This episode contains dark themes and unsettling imagery. Listener discretion is advised. The Manananggal is a creature that belongs to the same monstrous family as the aswang, a general term for shape-shifting evil in the Philippines. But the Manananggal is a specialist, a master of a singular, gruesome trick. She is, quite literally, the divider. Unlike the common aswang, who might turn into a pig or a dog, the Manananggal is defined by the separation of her upper body from her lower body, growing great, leathery, bat-like wings to soar into the night sky. She hunts, not for the living in general, but for the unborn, the vulnerable, the deeply sleeping. Her target is often a pregnant woman, and her weapon is an elongated tongue, a thin, needle-like proboscis she lowers through the thatched roofs of village homes to seek out the heart of the fetus within. The Manananggal is the ultimate predator of innocence. This belief is not just a whispered threat in the dark corners of the Visayas or Mindanao. It's a deep-seated part of Filipino Gothic horror, a cultural parallel to European vampire lore or even the South American sukuyan. Consider the timing of her activity, almost exclusively at night, drawn out during the darkest hours when the world is most at rest and its defenses are down. It speaks to a primal fear of the dark and the unknown forces that prey on us when we are most helpless. The folklore provides a simple, yet terrifying, method of defense: finding the abandoned lower half and sprinkling it with salt or crushed garlic. If the flying torso can't rejoin its base before dawn, the morning sun will incinerate the creature. It is a moment of terrifying, vulnerable race against time for the monster. Think for a moment about the cultural context of this belief, particularly in the days before modern medicine was readily available in every remote barangay. The reality of infant and maternal mortality was a constant, devastating threat. A healthy, pregnant woman could lose her child for reasons no one understood, reasons that defied explanation and left a community reeling. The Manananggal offered a narrative to fill that awful void. It provided a face for the inexplicable pain, an external villain to blame for the private, silent suffering of a lost child. In a sense, she was the embodiment of the miscarriage, the stillbirth, the sudden crib death, a supernatural scapegoat for natural but terrifying phenomena. This creature gave grief a recognizable, though horrifying, shape. Let's turn our attention to the physical geography where these stories are strongest. Picture the small, isolated communities, places like Antique or Capiz, surrounded by thick, moonlit forests. The darkness here isn't just a lack of light. It's a tangible, living thing, full of shadows that shift and sounds that are hard to place. In a time when the only light might come from a flickering oil lamp, the human mind is a master of creating shapes out of fear. A sudden, unfamiliar shadow on the roof might be a cat or a large nocturnal bird. But the mind, primed by generations of stories, immediately leaps to the Manananggal settling on the Bubong. Imagine a young man, let's call him Ramon, walking home late from a neighbor's house in the early 1970s. Ramon is a practical man, a farmer who trusts the dirt under his fingernails more than he trusts old women's tales. But the path is dark, the air is heavy with the smell of damp earth, and he hears a distinct flapping sound high above the tree line. It isn't the flutter of an ordinary bird. It's too large, too deliberate. The sound seems to follow him. He quickens his pace, his heart hammering against his ribs. He can't see anything, and that's the worst part. The knowledge that something unseen is pacing him in the sky. He reaches his home, throws the bolt on the wooden door, and stands shaking in the dark, straining to hear the sound over his own frantic breathing. Later, he'd tell his wife he saw nothing, but the primal, cold dread that gripped him was as real as the wooden door he leaned against. This is the power of the Manananggal. Not just the physical threat of the monster, but the psychological trauma of being followed by a shadow you can't outrun. It's the fear of the unknown predator, the feeling of vulnerability beneath an open roof. If you have a story, a family tale of a strange encounter, or an unexplained fright you can't quite shake, remember you can submit your stories to storiesphpodcast@gmail.com. Your voice, your experience, might be the key to understanding these persistent terrors. The narrative of the Manananggal also carries a heavy psychological burden about gender. It is always a woman, often beautiful by day, who transforms into this gruesome, split creature by night. In a traditional society, this story can be seen as a cautionary tale, a metaphor for the perceived dark side of female power, independence, or sexuality. She is the mother who betrays her maternal role, the woman who divides herself from her societal function. The physical splitting, the complete severance of the upper and lower body, is a powerful image of deep, self-inflicted psychological division, a trauma so profound it manifests physically. She is literally incomplete, unable to be whole without returning to the ground. She is the woman who has forsaken her connection to the earth, to home, to stability, in favor of a terrifying, predatory freedom in the air. For those who want to explore the history and psychology behind this creature and many others, you can find show notes and support options in the description of this episode. We often link to academic articles and historical documents that delve into these deeper meanings. Consider the modern equivalent of this psychological dread. In the 21st century, we might not believe in a physical monster with bat wings hunting our loved ones, but we still experience the feeling of a presence that follows us. It might be the constant low-level anxiety of a financial burden, the persistent, nagging fear for a child's safety, or the slow, unseen crawl of a terminal illness. These are our modern Manananggal. They are the unseen forces that prey on our peace of mind, the things that split our attention and our souls, leaving us feeling vulnerable and pursued in the dark. The fear is the same. The dread of an approaching danger we can't look directly at, an enemy that hides above us, watching. The Manananggal is also a monster that invites community action. The defense is not a solitary one. You have to find the monster's hidden, vulnerable half. You need to alert your neighbors, coordinate the sprinkling of the salt and garlic, and wait for the sun. This reinforces the necessity of the Bayanihan spirit, the sense of communal unity, against an existential threat. When fear grips a community, the only real weapon is unity, the shared belief in a common defense. The story teaches that a singular person cannot overcome a great terror, but a village working together can defeat even the divided, flying fiend. If the Manananggal is calling to you, if you crave more of these deep dives into Filipino darkness, you can access exclusive content on Patreon. We offer extended discussions and early access to episodes for our dedicated listeners. The legend persists because it speaks to the darkness within us and the darkness without. It's a story about transformation and vulnerability. The Manananggal is a warning that the most beautiful people can conceal the most grotesque hunger, and that the only thing standing between a family and total destruction might be a handful of common salt. It is a terrifying, airborne shadow that reminds us that even when we are safe inside, underneath a strong roof, a dedicated predator can always find a way to reach the most innocent amongst us. Remember to also follow us on social media for daily folklore facts and glimpses into the hidden history of the archipelago. The sun will rise, eventually. The air will lighten, and the night terrors will retreat. But the silence after the Manananggal has flown away, the eerie calm of the village when the fear is still palpable, is a silence that stays with you. It's the silence of a house holding its breath. It's the moment Ramon stood, shaking, by his wooden door, knowing that for a terrifying stretch of the night, something that was not whole had been whole enough to hunt him. What part of you is already severed? What half of your fear is hidden in the dark, waiting for the other half to return? Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast. Support us financially through the options in the show notes.